know, nowhere in the Declaration is independence mentioned. Who are being independent from, you know? Who are we dependent on now?
The king.
No, we're supposed to be dependent on God. Okay, like I said, the king. Okay, all right. But yeah, it's very important you understand this. Read this thing right here, and then start asking your federal government under what authority. Simple. About 80% of what they're doing right now is not within the Constitution. When the Constitution is silent, they don't have the authority. Who has the authority? The people of the states. Yes. What amendment is that?
10.
Thank you. All right. Hey. I surprised you toss out here. Oh, here we are. Left-handed even. Do you see that? All right. All right. The people often mistake it for synonym. A synonym for democracy. It is not. Here we go again through the common through the English translation, the Bible's Hebrew phrase "hayam." Anybody who's having any of those militia-like duties, that's what it is. So, the people embrace any one of the three duties from the militia: grand jurymen, pettit jurymen, armed militiamen. How do you guys do it when you do jury duty? You're doing militia duty. You're the people, right? We the people. Protecting the land, that's your armed, from enemies foreign. Enemies domestic is your grand jury and your pettit juries. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep bear arms shall not be infringed. What is that? Second Amendment. People miss key words in that. And right off the bat, there's a key word. What is it?
Infringed.
No.
Regulated.
No.
Militia.
Smaller word. A. What does that word A tell you?
Singular.
Yes. So what's it do? A, take well-regulated out of there. A what? A militia. It tells you the militia already exists. It wasn't something they said, you know, we need to protect this Constitution, we're going to do a militia. Well, what's a militia? Well, they already knew what it was. Every now and then I get some hate mail going through the newspaper, and one of them was talking about, oh, sheriff, nowhere in the Constitution's office is sheriff mentioned. Who can tell me why? The office already existed. That created the federal government. But right here, A is a very, very important word there, because it tells you that that militia already exists. It didn't say a founding fathers created militia. It says a militia. Okay, well regulated. That's important you understand that. That doesn't mean the federal government can come on in and tell you what gun you can have, or state government come and say, hey, you can't give your grandchild a gun because you got to go get a background check. Oh, he's got to be 18 now to do it. It doesn't mean that. What it means is regular. You have to keep it regular. Regularly armed, regularly trained, regularly ready to go. Understand that? That's a common law phrase. Don't let them go out and tear it apart and Hillary Clinton it. Okay? So a well-regulated militia. Next one's very, very important. It's what?
Necessary.
Being necessary. There's nowhere else in the Constitution does it use that word necessary. Do you know that? It's necessary. I don't know if you guys knew this, but the state of Texas has in their one of their laws banning militias. I'm going, you can't do that. Yeah, we got to go correct that. Being necessary to the security of a what? Free state. That's critical. We got to understand, what does the word state mean? Common law. Let's look at the common law. What does the word state mean? What are they referring to here?
We the people.
A sovereign government. If you go read the Declaration, right towards the very end, he refers to the state of Great Britain. Oh, Great Britain's a country. It's a sovereign government. Yeah. All right, the right of the people. What's the key word there? Yeah, thank you. How'd you figure that out? It's italic and underlined? Yes. All right. Why is the important? That means it's yours. It's yours. The right. It didn't say the privilege. It didn't say the government granted right, which would be a privilege. It says the right. It's yours. It's everybody's inheritance by birth. Of the people, the militia, to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Our Supreme Court's fighting that shall not be infringed because they're saying, well, you know, we got nukes now. And I remember when I first started teaching CPL classes, I had a lady sitting there going, well, the way you interpret that Second Amendment, we should all have nuclear warheads pointing at Washington, D.C. And back then, we're only 13 trillion in debt. And I said, we wouldn't be 13 trillion in debt then, would we? Yeah, they'd behave. That's what it's about, folks. Any questions on that? Don't overthink it. They wrote it for us to understand. You don't need to be an attorney to read this. To understand it, don't repeat it. I like that. You're practicing law without a license. So was that teacher practicing medicine when she took that Band-Aid and put it over that little kid's knee when he scraped it, right? Practicing medicine without a license. Regulate, again. Signified, which was kept regular. That is always in readiness. That's your duty. Understand that? It's not something that, yeah, I'll think about it. Did you know they used to tax you if you didn't have a firearm and ready to go? They'd tax you more so the others could do it. The people is always armed and ready to muster. What they mean by that is when your sheriff or your governor calls you on up for an insurrection or an invasion, here we go. Get ready. You're supposed to be ready. The Minuteman. See, here we are. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions. Do we have an invasion going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are we doing in Michigan with that invasion?
Oh, we still have
problems with
Lansing.
the crossovers?
I haven't seen it in my county yet, but I'm sure they're bringing them on up because they're scattered throughout the country. And then you have the videos of these Democrats, or communists, excuse me, representatives going, yeah, we need more people in my area so I can get more votes. And it's like, no.
That's the plan.
Yeah. Anyways, each man keeping and bearing his own firearm and disciplining himself to its safe and effective use. Here we are, King Alfred the Great. Who's King Alfred the Great?
Old English king.
Ah, I'm glad. Oh, here we go. A lot of people don't know who King Alfred the Great is, and it's very, very important you understand that because that was actually the first time they ever took power from all these other kings and put it in one spot. And what was he? He was the commander-in-chief of the military when the Danes started taking over Great Britain. So all these kings got together in their shires and said, hey, we got to do something about this. Hey, King Alfred, come on up here. We want you to go out and unite all this military here and go fight the Danes. And it worked. So how do we do that here in the United States? It's not the office of sheriff isn't any a new thought, folks. It's going all the way back to this King Alfred the Great. And we even have biblical references in there too. I think I got it on this slide. But what's the president do? What's his duties?
Commander-in-chief.
Commander-in-chief of what?
Military.
The United States military. And the militia when what?
Called to
When muster.
action.
Yes. What's the governor?
Commander-in-chief of the state.
State militia. What's your sheriff?
County.
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 Yeah, see how it's all broke up? Yeah, that all started with King Alfred the Great. He required every able-bodied man to be armed at all times. That's how times have changed, isn't it? Yeah. Well, would Ronald Reagan stay with Ronald? Don't worry, the government here to help or something like that.
Yes, where's the English language?
Yeah, that's it.
We're here to help.
Even while farming, the Anglo-Dane work crews always stayed armed, and they had to be expert in those arms. So if they were out tending their farms, they had to have the swords out there. They had to be experts on it. Why? They're farmers, right? What are they going to try and do? Bring your crops on up and starve you out. That's how you get you in compliance. What's going on today?
Same thing.
Where at?
California, they're cutting down the supply lines from the West Coast.
Well, how many of these farms have gone up and these
Solar gardens.
well, it's solar gardens, but I'm talking about, you guys paid attention? About a year and a half ago, it was up to over 100 like, yeah, processing plants and chickens was a big one. Yes.
Last count was 129.
129 now? Yeah. And you know something's funny? 20th year as a sheriff, and I have not received anything from Homeland Security on that. I do my own, I guess. Then William I, each shop owner and landowner in England had to keep a longbow and at least 40 arrows, and they had to be experts in the use of those bows and those arrows. Now let's get a little bit to the juries here. Here's another function: grand juries. Jury of 23 people selected to examine the validity of an accusation for trial, before trial. I was subject to one of those. I got subpoenaed into it over in Oakland County, over at Tabulator. And it's kind of funny because I did a class of Brent Allen winners there on grand juries. And it was real interesting because who's in charge when you go into a courtroom and there's a grand jury there? Who's in charge?
Judge.
Oh, ouch.
Sheriff. Prosecutor.
No. The sheriff. The foreman. Foreman of the jury. Who's in charge? You guys are. That foreman can request anything they want.
The judge comes down to him.
Oh yeah, that's part of the grab, the power grab. This grand jury right here, folks, the grand jury foreman is the one supposed to be in charge. They have subpoena power. They have the power to go out and ask for the investigation or do another investigation. They have all kinds of power there before they do an indictment. It's extremely important we keep it within that realm. The pettit juries, or petite, some people call it that. Either one, like I said, is acceptable. Jury of 12 people who trying to figure out the final issue of fact in civil and criminal cases. They're the ones who tell you whether you're guilty or not. Again, what we have going on, the jury foreman's supposed to be in charge. The judges are taking over and saying, oh, you can only look at this, 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 and this to decide your fate, whoever the suspect is, your fate.
Or they don't need a jury.
Yeah.
That's the latest.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about, it being watered down, your other vote. Now, we already know about the ballot box vote being watered down, and I'm not sure if that's from them urinating on it or what, I don't know. But armed defense, any able-bodied man. You gotta look at this militia like you do a regular military. Somebody's gonna have to cook for them, somebody's gonna have to clean, somebody's gonna have to take care of the bathrooms and all that other good stuff. But you will have that responsibility to make sure you're well-trained. Here's an Old Testament view. Yes, militia's in the Bible. Militia of the 12 tribes of Israel. 12 tribes of Israel is the first spot that I've seen where they actually talk about the grand juries and the pettit juries. Book of Moses called Numbers. Numbers 1 to be more specific. Go read it. Numbers 1 talks about any able-bodied man, 20 years and older. We didn't just come out of the drinking age at ages 21. That just didn't come out of nowhere. That's biblical. To over 20 years, 21. Freedom demands in civil law jurisdiction, confined to matters necessitating martial law. That's civil law, not common law. Okay? Then you got the book of Genesis and Exodus, record facts, foundation, first principle of law for the living, and I put it right down underneath. Leviticus, cleanliness, godliness. And then, I think I did something wrong. Anyways, boldness is a lifestyle of discipline and sees God's ordered distinctions amidst evil empires. Evil empire. Who's the evil empire today? Okay. Muddying and confusion.
All of it?
Huh? All of it. Yes.
All of it.
Yeah, muddying. It was bad for decades at the federal level. Now it's coming down to the state level. Now it's getting even into our local government. Sets forth limited and dangerous jurisdictions called the civil law. And it has broken down into two bodies of self-armed men called the people. What are the people?
Us.
The militia. Thank you. Body men called priesthood. The care for our nation's treasures. What do we call them today? Treasure. Okay. Our Constitution recognizes both freedom and security are possible only at the same time, only by the militia. That's where you guys come in. It's so important you understand your role in life. And understand that? You gotta grasp that, especially you youngsters over here. Every time I turn around, they're trying to brainwash you guys into believing something different.
You don't want people to step in it.
But
Hello?
No,
I
we've got a speaker going on right now.
don't know, can they hear us?
Probably. I assume yes.
Anyways, where are we
It's
at?
an NSA.
Yeah. I met the cybersecurity from the NSA, the cybersecurity director for 17 years. Coming to my county over selection stuff.
Good.
Going on, but it had a sad ending. Anyways, numbers recognize the same importance of Israel's separate 12 tribes. All right, did I jump over something here? What did I do? Oh, here we are. Yeah, I did. Okay. Actually, I hit the button. I didn't realize it. Anyways, number sets forth a limited and dangerous jurisdiction called civil law, right? Civil law is broken down by the bodies of self-armed men called the people, and also a body of men called priesthood or care for nation's treasures. Our Constitution recognizes that both freedom and security are possible at the same time only by the militia. That's you. So, your freedom is in your hands. I get phone calls every now and then, and I sent you a whole bunch of stuff on the state of Washington, and their governor is trying to get legislation passed to take away authority from the sheriff. And I know one of the sheriff, and he's going to do this. And in reality, he can. She didn't elect him, or he, or whoever the governor is over there didn't elect him. And what are they really doing? Who are they taking power from? You.
Yeah,
You.
from us.
So absolutely not. They can't do it. Townships, solar farms. What they do? They come up with this committee of bureaucrats. Whoever appoints them, I think the governor is, aren't they? Appointed bureaucrats.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the governor just took a bunch of power away from who?
From us.
You.
Landowners.
At township level.
They can't do it. The townships are constitutional offices. They can't take power away from me either. That drives them crazy because, again, I got a lot of experience as a sheriff now. And I preach to all these young sheriffs about the same thing. You got to stand up, otherwise you're going to run your people over. But that, they can't be doing that stuff. And trying to convince these attorneys, what are the attorneys? They're bar attorneys. Most of your attorneys are Democrats too, by the way. And are they going to go try and buck the system?
No.
But it's a violation of the oath if they don't try. Let's see. Numbers recognize the same importance of Israel's 12 tribes of Israel. And let's see. Several tribes as a check and balance upon unlawful domestic threats. That's a check and balance. Sheriff goes out, makes an arrest. Part of a check and balance is the prosecutor. Prosecutor can say, yeah, I'm not going to go out and do anything on that, or no. Prosecutor can't go over and say, Sheriff, you need to arrest that man. The sheriff can look at the prosecutor and say, no, not doing it. Sheriff's job is to maintain peace. We're not there to work for the insurance companies. That's what I hate about traffic enforcement. You know, insurance companies have access to your driving record. If you ever get a ticket, you get something from your insurance company. Going, how's that okay? 4 clauses are not dead, just asleep. And again, we're going to be waking them on up here come February 1st. And I can't stress enough. Get a group of 10 or more. Get online. They're excited that we got people from all around the country coming on board with this thing now. I'm really proud because most of my county, anyways, it talks about the first 3 clauses, bestows authority and duties. Okay, authority and duties. So the Congress has a duty, the states have a duty, the president has a duty. All 3 get their duty directly from the Constitution, not each other. Same thing with my duty. I get it directly from the Constitution, from common law. I don't get it from Congress. I don't get it from our state legislature and so on. 4th clause is the Second Amendment. It doesn't grant you a right. Oh, my right to keep and bear arms. That's a natural right. It's not granted to you. Government doesn't say, yeah, you can do that. Do they do it?
All the time.
If you got a felony conviction, yeah, that cracks me up. What's the problem with that felony conviction thing?
Takes away your right.
Huh?
Takes away your right.
Yeah, but what's wrong with just the felony itself? Are all felonies violent? No.
Gotta be a victim, isn't there?
Huh?
Has to be a victim.
Yeah, most crimes there has to be a victim, but all crimes are not violent. So if you wrote a bad check and it's over $1,000, that's a felony here in Michigan, and they took away her right to keep bear arms. But doggone, when she gets out of jail, she can go right back in and get another checking account. She can get an ink pen to write checks. Yeah. Same thing with drunk driving. Use your third offense of drunk driving, you lose your right to keep bear arms because it's a felony on your record. But can you buy a car? Can you buy gasoline for the car? Yeah. Let's go back to the 8th Amendment, folks. Cruel and unusual punishment. Is that a little unusual? You write a bad check, we take away your guns. How dare you?
That'll teach them.
Well, what they're doing is they're treating it more like a privilege than a right. That's why Justice Thomas, Clarence Thomas, has come out with that huge statement. He says that Second Amendment is just as powerful as the First, Third, and all the others. And I'm sitting here about time for that from Supreme Court Justice. Let's see, where to go? That Second Amendment just recognizes the militia. It doesn't create one, it recognizes it. You go look at Michigan's Constitution, I think it's Article 6. I gotta look it up now. Anyways, in Michigan's Constitution, they have a place in there, it's called general government. The militia's in general government. That's that important. In Michigan's Constitution, it also says something to the effect that the militia shall be, which means what? You gotta do it, all right? Shall be armed, disciplined, and trained as according to law. Didn't say the state police. Does the governor have the authority to start her own militia? No. How can you start something that already exists? I was at a Homeland Security conference up in Grand Rapids, and a sergeant and a trooper come up to me and started talking about militias. And what are they doing? They're painting this picture that you guys are gonna just all of a sudden start overthrowing government and insurrection and all this stuff. And anyways, one young trooper said, yeah, we're the governor's militia. And I stopped and I said, what did you just say? He said, we're the governor's militia. I said, who told you that? Well, at the academy. And I looked at him and says, who are you at war with? Yeah. Hey, what? Who are you at war with? The sergeant looks at me and says, I don't follow you. The federal Constitution says we can't have a standing army unless we're at war. And the states can't. So who are you at war with? And he goes, well, I never thought about that. And I said, well, here's another thing. If you are a militia and you've been mustered by the governor, you are not under the Constitution, you're under military law. So I'm gonna go search your car, let's go. They kind of looked at me kind of funny. So after a while, they got done, they walked away, and I'm sitting there going, well, guys, hope you learned something. It's important you understand that, because they obviously don't. And if you read their papers when they swear a trooper in, it says that you also swear that you've never been dishonorably discharged from any state militia. It's right in their oath. So, yeah. All right, so anyways, recognizing and enforces the foundation of militia of the several states and individual right to keep guns, arms. It isn't just guns. You go to Detroit, you know they're regulating these now, your pocket knives. Yeah, it's a misdemeanor if you get caught with one of these things. And it's been that way for years. It just, nobody's ever fought it.
Can't enter your courthouse with one of those.
Oh, you can give me one on that. And when they first started doing that, I said, well, judges, if you just follow the Constitution, people wouldn't be mad. So, all right. Anyways, just like three co-equal branches of government, you got Congress, President, Supreme Court. Get their authority direct from the Constitution and not each other. Understand that? How many of you guys have ever read the Constitution? How many of you ever studied it? Difference, huh? Yeah. Yeah. What does bill of attainder, no bill of attainder, ex post facto law mean? Yeah, see, that's common law.
Well, the ex post
That's why you have to study it, all right? And
Yeah, I'm saying the ex post facto laws, I can't be guilty of a law that didn't exist when I allegedly broke it.
Right, yeah, there's no law to break, yeah.
Right, there's no law to break.
Yeah, yeah, King George III was notorious for doing that. He would see you doing something, then he'd go right out of law, and order his soldiers to go and arrest you for it, so that's ex post facto. The
You still do that.
bill of attainder is it has to do with targeting you without allowing you a right to a trial by jury. And there's a little bit more to that, but that bill of attainder ex post facto law is in our United States Constitution twice. It basically forbids the federal government from doing it, then it forbids the state government from doing it, and then it's in our state constitution again, forbidding any government from doing it. So, yeah, I throw that out there all the time when the zoning comes on out. You got these townships who want to have a zoning ordinance, and we're gonna make these people clean up their yard. I started laughing. I go, well, you can have enforce that. We'll hire our own officer. Not on my watch. What do you mean? This is your zoning ordinance, that's ex post facto. Yeah, I can make that guy clean up his yard. Well, our attorney said, your attorney's not a constitutional attorney. Yeah, that bill of attainder and ex post facto. And then I always ask, is your enforcement officer, did he take an oath of office? It's kind of important, isn't it? Our health officer, they're saying, oh, our health officer doesn't have to take an oath of office. And I'm going, does that mean she can violate her rights? That's a promise, saying you're not gonna be violating your rights when you do this duty. Health officers, by the way, folks, it stomped on you guys. Let's see. All right, we can move on here. Here we have it. Bottom line, Supreme Court says that the authority of the militia of the several states being a subset of who? Same thing with your posse. It's a subset of who? Who?
People.
All right, the people. A little louder, please. Okay. I'm just starting to worry me. Are they sleeping out there? Can you get more coffee or anything? Anyways, Constitution recognizes and bespeaks the militia of the several states and never of the United States. So United States, I remember seeing a sign a while back. It said the National Guard serving since 1615. I started laughing. I said, no, you've been here since 1903.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we're the militia. I go, can't be. Militia's us, not you. The federal government doesn't have the authority to make any act or anything like that. What's the problem with acts?
Not laws.
But they can also be amended, right? Yeah, the Patriot Act. Sounded really good. What they have, we had this disaster come on in, and they say don't ever let a disaster go to waste. So then they come up with this Patriot Act, and that Patriot Act said, 100 miles in from any border, or the Constitution is null and void. And, but they didn't tell you, folks, what are airports? Portals. They're borders. Yeah, so go look at all the airports around the country, and then do that 100-mile map. Yeah, that was another one of those, federal government up yours, you know. Let's see, our Constitution never empowers a national government to create one. Our Constitution does not create the grand or pettit juries either. They're already there. Those are ours. The problem you're going to get into, I can guarantee it, because you got to know your enemy. If we started doing grand juries over here, they're going to say, oh, our grand jury is bigger than your grand jury, and they started indicting all your good leaders. So that's why a lot of your common law leaders are sitting there going, wow, I don't think our founding fathers kind of looked that in the eye. It's a possibility, or our militia is bigger than your militia. Think about it. Here's Congress's militia clause. They're limited in what they can do with the militia. They're calling forth the militia, execute the laws of the Union, and for providing organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia. Then reserving to the states respectively the appointment of the officers. That's laid out. If it's anything beyond that, they can't do it. President shall be commander-in-chief. Militia of the several states when called into action of service, not before, when they're called into action. And then here's yours. Second Amendment, that's yours. It didn't grant you that right, it recognized it. Remember that. If you want more on this, like I said, we're doing that 12-week class, and we're getting really, really deep, especially into the wording and the breaking up the words and all that stuff. I'll give you an idea what it looks like. Again, so I declare Berry County, Michigan a sanctuary county for gun owners. It's already there, folks. I didn't need to declare it. It's yours, right? I talk to people all the time about you can't take my right to keep bear arms. I want us to be a sanctuary, Second Amendment sanctuary county. And I had one compliment though that was really good. Our chairman of our board of commissioners said, "Have you met your sheriff?" And, yeah. I'll take that as a compliment. But at the same time, I always remind him. I said, "Do you understand something? You're missing the whole part of it, the whole purpose of it." There's a beginning part of that that says a well-regulated militia being necessary. And then they give you this blank look. Well, how do we get that through? It's already there. So the declaration is basically that, a declaration. Just basically telling state government, federal government, we're here. We're not budging. We're not going to go out and enforce this stuff because it's ridiculous. The reality is I can enforce it, but it violates the Constitution. It's not law. Marbury versus Madison, and there's several other cases out there, but Marbury is one of the most quoted ones. And basically said if a law a bill cannot become a law, and it never was a law, even at the time they wrote it, if it violates the Constitution.
Versus Shelby County.
Yeah, there's another one, yeah. So there's quite a few of them out there. And the funny thing is, the two that we just mentioned right here, they've never been challenged. So there's some. Remember the Nuremberg trials? I like reminding sheriffs of that. I did that a lot when they were doing this COVID stuff. They're ordering all you people to go on out and line up just like little robots and get your vaccination. I'm looking at that and go, you can't order that. Nuremberg. You know what Nuremberg is?
Yeah.
Huh? Well, let me tell you what it is. Nuremberg is what our government agreed to be part of our supreme law of the land when they took it through the Senate and said, yeah, that's a good idea, we should be doing this. Well, it's supreme law of the land that we can't be using you guys as a big experiment. And what they do?
Ignored it.
Who's going to enforce it? So that's one of our problems is they had their chess pieces in place before they started pulling stunts like this. So my suggestion is we dump the chessboard.
The whole thing.
Yeah, and we got to build it back up again. I've been working with the North American Law Center. They're the ones who helped get the Supreme Court case against Whitmer when she's given all these executive orders. And that was my answer every time I got a phone call, that she doesn't have the authority, that's only good for her employees, even though she cannot force her employees to get that vaccination. Why? Nuremberg. Yeah, the political pressure that they had on, what's that branch of the federal government does the, it's not a branch, it's a...
CDC?
No, that's not.
FDA?
Yeah, FDA, I think it was. Who,
Agency.
Yeah, agency, thank you. They, right off the bat, said, well, we can't approve this. It hasn't been properly tested. And all of a sudden, some political pressure come down, who knows, maybe some threats of life and limb, I don't know. And all of a sudden, they flipped. Even wearing the mask. Fauci even flipped on that many, many times. And I go, I'll make up your mind. If I wear 2 swimsuits in the swimming pool, can I get it? Just a thought. Good question. Yes.
How can we get more information on your February 1st class when it's going to start coming together?
Yeah, acommonlawyer.com and get on there and Francine will work with you for that. What you're going to need is if you get a group, one of you is going to have to be the group captain and she goes through you, gets his books and payment and everything like that. So I don't get a dime for it, I get an education. That's my payment. So. I close with this here. Adam was talking to God, and he asked God, he says, God, how can you make Eve's skin so soft and nice to touch? God says, well, that's so you'd like her better. Why'd you make her so gullible? God says, that's so she would like you. That's all. all I got for you. So take it. All right.
So I asked Bill this question the other day. Could you speak a little bit to the National Guard as there's a lot of confusion about that and the authority and what kind of authority issues we could have with what is happening in
Well, first I want you to understand something. There's a difference between authority and power. Most of your stuff that your government does now, they have the power to do, they don't have the authority. Yeah, so cross them and you end up in the gulag down there in DC. But yes, the governor is correct. And all these other states that are sending militia down there to help them out are correct. I would like them to go a step further and cut the federal government off financially. And the reason for that is so they can afford that. With the Biden and his infinite wisdom, or I should say, Biden. What he did in his infinite wisdom says, well, we're not going to let you sell that natural gas off to Europe. Isn't that what they're using to heat their homes now that Russia shut them off? Yeah, it's ridiculous how bad it's gotten, but Governor Abbott is spot on. And when they violate that Constitution, we have no Constitution. So the states go back to being states, and the states are sovereign government. Yeah, the Supreme Court ruling they had on that, I don't know all the details on it, but I sat there shaking my head. It was a 5-4 decision, which tells you something. Okay. They were going more on tort law than they were on common law or the Constitution. There's a difference between Constitution law and common law too, by the way. Just the Constitution was written in the common law. So. And do you think our governor's going to send ours down?
Yeah, right.
You mentioned Marbury versus Madison, and a lot of us were aware of this little booklet here that had Marbury in it. If you wanted to read just this one sentence from Norton versus Shelby County, go ahead. I want you to read it. I tried to get a hold of you like 2 months ago.
Oh, did you?
I know, it's hard to get a hold of you.
Which one? The one you got in parentheses?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
An unconstitutional act is not law. It confers no rights, it imposes no duties, it affords no protection. It creates no office. It is in legal contemplation as inoperative as though it had never been passed.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So mask mandates.
Well, mask mandates are ridiculous, folks. So, let me tell you something about masks. I went through paramedic training. We studied the viruses, and we also studied quarantine. And what they did by moving all these sick people into the senior homes was, I think it's manslaughter.
Nothing short.
Yeah, I shake my head. In fact, I had got in an argument with Thorapple Manor in my county, saying we're going to stop them at the county line and turn them around. And he argued with me, and I said, why don't they send us the people who got the broken legs and not the virus? Hello? Yeah, they were getting money, but he did have a whole building set aside, and I said, you understand, if they get infected, people die, I'm coming after you. And in his defense, he did a really good job, and I don't think anybody died in that manner from that COVID. But just remember this, if you walk away with anything when it comes to masks, when I was going through paramedic training, the nurse said, if you can smell a fart through it, you can get a virus from it. All right.